Ranking member. Now recognize the chairman of the overall committee of the Appropriations Committee, Mr. Cole from Oklahoma.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and probably shouldn't say this before I get into my questions in front of somebody as shrewd as my friend, the ranking member, but when I think ahead about negotiations that will come if we're going to avoid a CR and get to a successful conclusion, I always look where are the things in common that the two sides can set aside differences on and come around. I think this is one of those things.
Absolutely.
And we're all very interested in what it takes to fly safely. It's important commercially. It's much more important, obviously, in terms of lives. So, I would just advise you and by our former colleague to be ready to take advantage of that opportunity down the road. I mean, I think that this is one where we will work together and try and make a significant investment to move us materially toward the goals that you've outlined. Your budget proposal increases facilities and equipment account in order to upgrade the system for air traffic facilities. Does your request include improvements at the academy to ensure that the students are actually training on the equipment that you intend for them to be using in the years ahead?
Yes, sir, it does. In fact, as we talked about recently, our effort to supercharge the hiring through the academy with controllers, what we've been able to do, and again, giving credit to the secretary for accelerating and encouraging us to work hard. We didn't think we were going to hit the 2,000 controllers this year, so we've shortened the time frame by which we hire those controllers, academy attendees, through the system by 5 months. In fact, I would just, as a quick story, we went through as we look for the best and brightest, we had an individual recently that in 44 days from start to finish got into the academy, got an academy date. So that system is really working. Now, that's not going to be the case for everyone, but that is encouraging there. So the budget request we have does in fact accommodate and consider what we want to do with respect to getting up to 2,500 people through the Oklahoma City Academy this year, in addition to the enhanced CTI trainings that we're doing with the universities around the U.S.
Well, I think that's terrific. And just toward that goal of reaching 2,500, when you and I had our visit, we also talked about the failure rate, because we lose about a third of those students over the course of this. And in some ways you expect it's a pretty rigorous, very demanding profession. What might look attractive at the beginning as you get into it may not be your cup of tea as you really understand how difficult and challenging this job is. But having said that, I'm curious about, number one, as you stair-step up, anything additional you need. And I'm like you, I commend the secretary for increasing that pay and making this a more attractive option for the kind of people we want coming there. But what are you thinking about doing in addition to help those students that are there so that we have a higher success rate and don't lose them?
Thank you for the question. So as part of this initiative, I would highlight two efforts that we put in there. First and foremost is, as we think about the training itself and the first roughly 5 weeks of training, there's a basic course. So it's what we'll call Air Traffic 101, that we do not need certified professional controllers to teach. And so therefore, we have the ability to bring in professional instructors to help that. So we're augmenting the instructor workforce there at the academy, first and foremost. And we think that will be helpful to for the evaluation period as people get closer to graduation there. In addition to that, one of the things that the secretary had heard when in his visit back in February, I believe it was, to Oklahoma, was in fact some of the students were looking for a little extra time on the weekend for training. And so we are now offering tutoring on the weekend with the use of high definition simulators, which actually is going to improve probably up to 30% of the graduation rate, because at the end of the day, we to get the throughput, to get the controllers to the boards that we need, we want to make sure that failure rate of 35% roughly these days, because it is an incredibly demanding profession, that we get that down to, say, the 25%, maybe even lower than that. So those two initiatives alone, we're trying to make sure that we get a better throughput and a better graduation rate.
That's great. Well, my time's almost up, and I certainly respect the chairman on that. Just one, it's not a question, but I'm sure you're thinking, given the fact that you're going to increase, as you implied you are, the number of instructors, because we're going to move it up. You got to have more people on the ground. You're comfortable you can do that, and that's basically a yes or no.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the gentleman from Oklahoma, and not to belabor the point necessarily on air traffic control, but it's one thing to get a certified air traffic controller, but it's a whole other thing to certify them or to prepare them for whatever assignment